live right now, guys. We're going live real quick. I want to be able, for those of you who are tuning in, right, I want you guys to be able to take a look at this a little bit later. Save your comments, right? Any questions that you've had. I know I've been putting out a good amount of content. We will be producing a lot more content. This is just a little heart to heart with me and you, really quick, because there's been tremendous things happening in the company right now in all of these different, just in the whole economy. And there's just it's right now, guys, if you got the mindset and you got the heart, there's so many different places where you can you can put your money and you can get a sizable, you can get a sizable gain, essentially. Now, before I start with this video, I'm going to talk about how to how do you guys actually find that life-changing stock. And you'll be shocked at the answer to how do you find this life-changing stock. Before we get into that, guys, let's I just want to make sure, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to smash that like button. Make sure to share it with someone if you find value in what I'm about to say today, and leave a comment below. Right, there's somebody else who's out there who's probably who's probably thinking the same thing that you're thinking, has the same question, and you asking that question, or putting that information out there, can definitely help somebody else who's watching as well. So with that said, guys, let's talk about the stock that had changed everything. Okay, now right now, due to technical situations, I not am going to be able to put up a chart for you guys. And I usually like putting up a chart, but we're gonna use this old thing right here. And I've been if those of you guys know, I've been with a company now for the last, woo, going back to 2016, so 5 years, going on 5 years. This company has taught me how to build more healthy financial habits so that I can save more money, and with those savings, invest more of it into things that will produce more cash flow, that will grow my net worth, and that will allow me to spend more time with those who I care about, right? So this company is a publisher of financial, basically a newsletter, financial newsletter, and they give out financial education information. So I thought this was pretty cool back in 2016, right? I was still working a job, and I was working at Olive Garden. Kind of ironic because I graduated cum laude in college, and I was an overachiever, and I couldn't find a job for the life of me. It's kind of ironic how it happens. Thinking back, it was interesting that I saw these kids started making money trading on their phones, and I just couldn't understand, like, what was this thing that they were doing. I went to college for business, and I figured that I would learn a thing or two about money, right? But the only thing only thing I learned was basic accounting, like 101. So essentially, I started seeing people make money on their phones, and to me, I'm just like what was it, right? Like, where did they find out about this information? Come to find out that they only, basically, they start utilizing the platform, they start improving their livelihood, they start going out more, right? They're going to parties. I'm like, man, I want a little bit of that life. So a good friend of mine got into it and invited me over, and I see him living this life. I saw him retire his mom and dad, and I'm like, hey, like how did you do this? And he basically showed me this company called InvestView. And I basically fell in love because it was starting to show me a whole new world that got me out of the whole employee mindset into being more of an investor, right? And so I started learning from the guys that invest every single day, who own businesses. And next thing you know, I'm basically a customer. So I'm in the university, and I'm learning how to trade forex and crypto, and then all of a sudden they get acquired by a bigger company called InvestView, and they launch an IPO. So I immediately jump in. It was 1 cent. To me, it was a steal, because I'm like, man, all these college kids, and now all of a sudden moms and dads and grandmothers and grandfathers, everybody wants to start learning how to trade. Man, this thing is gonna go crazy in the next 5 years. So I bought it. I bought like 100 shares. It was like $10. It was all the only money that I had, right, to put into investing. And oh man, so 100 shares at 1 cent was I felt like I was doing something. It was $10. That $10 today, guys, I'll tell you guys right now, that $10 on a 1 cent has now turned into 60 cents. So when I purchased it at 1 cent, the stock had grown 60 times. Now, past performance doesn't guarantee future results, and trading in the markets does involve significant risk involving losing all or part of your money. And I was aware that I could potentially lose all or part of my money doing it, but hey, spending $10 on it wasn't that much of a big deal for the average person. It was for me. So, I really had to consider it, and I did. Right, you don't make a lot of money when you're working at Olive Garden. You don't, right? When you're working in the kitchen at Olive Garden, you get limited hours. So, that's what I could do. And guess what, guys? I've held on to it, and I've kept purchasing and purchasing more and more shares. It was still fluctuating at about 1 to 2. Actually, if you guys see the chart, right, you could guys see that, over the years, right? And I know it's upside down here, but you guys can see that 2017 there was a little spike. It corrected itself, went right back down, and as you guys will see, basically all throughout the years, right, it was stabilizing at that. So but I knew there was something. So, well, we have what we have today, guys. And just in the past week, there's been tremendous growth. I mean, it's up 45% just today. And if we look at it, yeah, look at that. Just last month. So, what message do I want to create for you guys here today? The moral to the story is that, this stock changed my life. Absolutely changed my life, this stock. Okay. And there is, now, and the reason it changed my life is because it shaped me and molded me, right? I basically learned how to purchase something, hold on to it as a young kid. There's not a lot of things that we own when we're young. So when I'm young and I'm in my late 20s, and I'm like, man, I got to make some mature decisions, right? I couldn't keep a job for longer than a year. How do I keep this stock for more than a year? Well, I had to think like a business owner. So there's a few things that kind of went involved in that formula that I want to share with you guys before we wrap up here for the live. And it's quite simple. How that stock changed my life simply because it taught me new habits that now I carry on to exponentially compound my results in the future in everything in life. I believe how you do one thing is how you do everything. So essentially, back in 2016, when I made the purchase, I just held on to it. I never sold. Right, on red days, I would keep buying. That was just a strategy that I adopted from one of the experts in the university. Right, and I combined a bunch of different strategies and made it my own. And I said, hey, I'm willing to take the risk. So how did I pick that? Well, there's a few things that you got to know if you're going to pick a life-changing stock, right? Mine had gone 60x, guys. That is ridiculous. Now, it took 4 years of patience, right? So was it worth it? Absolutely. Absolutely worth it. How do you find that? Number one, well, you got to have the vision. When you encounter an asset, right, whether that's a paper asset or real asset, right, you got to look at it and say, ask yourself if it's cheap or if it's expensive, right? Look at the asset and find out what the vision is, right? If again, it goes back to, we just did this on the Facebook Live. If you were down to your last $1 million and you had to spend the whole $1 million in one shot, on one company or one type of investment, then how hard would you have to really think to make that decision? You want to make sure that that $1 million is well invested, right? Too many people are looking at the stock as a stock. They're looking at just, hey, is the price going to go up? But there's a lot more involved in that, right? Such as the the validity of the product, right? What's the demand and the supply, right? How are different market factors impacting the consumer, right? Is there a demand for it coming up in the next 5 years, right? There's a lot of things to consider, right? Not to mention the financials, the balance sheet, right? Make sure that profit earning statements, everything shows appropriately. So you got to look at all that stuff. So number one, you got to have the vision. I saw the vision for this company a long time ago, and I knew that this company had a lot of it was going to get in the hands of a lot of people, right? Into a lot of people's phones. People could start interacting with it for many years to come. So that's why I saw the vision. Now, number two, in addition to having the vision, is you got to not treat it as a stock, treat it as treat it as an investment, right? Treat it, if it was your business, right? How would you treat it then? And then the third thing is you got to have patience. You got to have a lot of patience, right? And remember that, what makes a stock life changing is when you're so sure about it that over the long term, it's almost bound to happen, right? That's when you know. So that leads me to number four, which is do your research, right? Do your research, guys, right? As long as you're doing your research, the better, more intact your research is, the more prepared you are, and the less your risk is when you make an investment. So with that said, guys, just a quick reminder, what are the four? Number one is you got to have the vision. Number two, you got to be able to have the patience. Number three, I'll probably say them out of order, is you have to see it as an investment, not a stock. And then number four, guys, is you got to be patient. With that said, guys, if you found value in this, share this with somebody who you feel could also gain value from this message. This is Vinny, A Figure Vision. If you got any value, share it, comment, like, and subscribe. See you on the next one. Peace out.